On the phone right now, we have Ann McElhinney. Did I pronounce that right?
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us, Ann. Ann is the one of the producers and director of Fracknation. It's a new movie about fracking, and as most of you know, fracking is a fairly big issue around here. And so, Ann, would you most of our listeners know a good bit about fracking, but for those that might not know, could you just explain a little bit about the process and how it works?
Sure. I mean, it's a really simple, it's a really great way of getting oil and natural gas out of the ground in places where they couldn't get it out before, if that makes sense. But it's been around since 1947, and the way it goes is basically water and sand with some chemicals are pushed into the ground at a big velocity, at a big pressure, and they break up rock underneath the ground, about a mile underneath the ground, and from there they release oil or in a lot of cases natural gas. And because of this innovation, in the past, I should explain, in the past what they used to do was they went straight down. So the fracking was a straight pipe going straight down and breaking up the rock below. But the big change, the thing that's changed everything, the reason everyone's talking about fracking now is that instead of just going straight down, it goes straight down now, and it goes over. So this horizontal thing is a big, big deal. So instead of just going down, you go horizontal. See, at the bottom of the pipe, basically, the pipe goes horizontal, and it can go horizontal for a mile, or even more than that. So it opens up a lot more possibilities, a lot more space where they can get at this oil and natural gas. And it's transforming America. It's transforming the energy mix. And it's making the Saudis unhappy. It's making the Russians unhappy. And that has to be a good thing.
Oh, absolutely. And now, and I think a lot of people have some misconceptions, maybe not around here, but in other places in the country and worldwide. People have some misconceptions, and we'll get to where those misconceptions come from in a moment. But I think a lot of people have some misconceptions that it's environmentally unsafe and dangerous for the environment, and that's absolutely not the case, is it?
No, it's not. It's not dangerous for the climate. It's not dangerous for the environment. I mean, it's absolutely great. And the reason we can know that, well, one reason we know that is because the outgoing head of the EPA, Lisa Jackson, is on record twice under oath in Congress saying that she knows of not one case of water contamination caused by fracking. And people need to understand there's about at least a million fracked wells in the United States already. And I think we'd have noticed, even, anecdotally, I think we'd have noticed if there was some extraordinary health defects or whatever, we'd have noticed by now. But, there's a lot of misconception. There's a lot of people exaggerating. There's people telling outright lies about fracking. The truth is it's a very effective way of getting oil and natural gas out of the ground. It's been around since 1947. And it's really marvelous for the country and marvelous opportunity, because energy matters. Energy matters. We have a section in the film about that. Energy really matters. It makes everything lovely. It runs hospitals and schools and all the things that we really, depend on.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned that it really does run everything. I mean, in our community in particular, if you haven't been here before, you'll find out when you get here that the coal industry is big here. I mean, it's not so much fracking, but the coal industry is big here, and it runs everything in this town. I mean, everything is basically supported by the coal economy. And the way that the mining is done here and the reclamation is done, the land ends up being in better shape when they're done than when they start.
Correct.
And
absolutely, and I'm a big fan of coal. I'm living in California, and I'm always very amused by people driving their Priuses, and they're so proud of the Prius, and it makes me just laugh. And everyone in Wyoming knows this joke, because I look at them and I think, my God, look at that! That's a car running on coal. It's running on coal. Where does the electricity come from? A huge proportion of the electricity in the United States, as Wyoming people know very, very well, comes from coal. And so these environmentalists who want these electric cars, where does the electricity come from? They just don't make the connection. And I think, unfortunately, coal is getting an incredible onslaught from environmentalists. But once they're done with coal, they move on. Now they're against natural gas. They liked natural gas. Now they don't like natural gas. They don't like things that work. That's basically it.
It seems like that, and see, whatever's successful is the thing they go after. It seems like, I mean, like you mentioned a few years ago, it was coal. Now they're moving on to natural gas, and I mean, it hurt our economy around here a little bit, but thankfully the demand for coal hasn't really dropped that much. So I mean, we're still in fairly good shape now.
Good.
Well, I want to go back to the misconceptions, and you mentioned there were people telling outright lies, and that's where your film comes into play to kind of battle those lies. So give us a little bit of an idea how this movie came about.
Sure. I mean, I suppose this film Gasland, a film called Gasland, was made by a guy called Josh Fox. Became very, very popular. Was nominated for an Oscar. All kinds of people very excited about it. It started being shown across the world, and basically it's an anti-fracking screed, very, very strong, using a huge amount of anecdote. People saying they feel sick. No science, but loads of anecdote. But one of the moments in the film that's kind of the talk about the money shot in the film, and the money shot in Gasland is, a regular guy is in his home and he lights his water on fire. He puts a match to the faucet, and it's big flames. Very impressive, and you think, oh my God. And according to the film, the reason his water is flammable is because they've been fracking in the area, and it's like, oh my God. I mean, anyone who'd see that would think, well, this fracking thing can't be, is bad. And I was asked to review Gasland, so I watched it, and I was very impressed by the flammable water, and I thought, well, that doesn't look good, But then I checked it out, and of course realized, as probably people in Wyoming very well know, that people in the United States have been lighting their water for centuries. Because of the fact that you are an incredibly lucky country. And basically, there's so much oil and natural gas in the ground, it just seeps up. If you walk on the beach in Santa Barbara in California, you're going to end up with big black feet, and it's not pollution. That's just the oil. There's just so much oil there. So basically, we kind of, this got us thinking, this is a bit odd, that this guy doesn't mention the fact that people always in America could light their water on fire. So Josh Fox, the director of Gasland, was having a Q&A, a question and answer session in Chicago at one of his screenings, and we thought we'll go along and we're going to ask him a question about this flammable water, and it's in the film. This exchange is in the film. And it's really interesting what happens, because first of all, he doesn't really want to answer questions about this, but when we pin him down and really force him to answer a question on this flammable water thing, he says, oh yeah, no, I know that water was always flammable, and we said, but don't you owe the audience an ethical duty to tell them that? And he said, well, it's not relevant. So we thought it was very, very relevant, and we thought, what else in Gasland is untrue? And that's what got us going. And what we did then was we went on a site called Kickstarter. And, anyone can go on Kickstarter and ask the public for money, for a project, for a cupcake factory, or, what you want to paint something or sing a song or something, and you ask people for money. We asked the public, would they give us money to make this documentary? We asked for $150,000. We got $250,000 from over 3,000 people in 26 countries. But having said 26 countries, most of the money came from the United States, and we're very grateful for it. And that's why we made the film, because people actually want to know the truth. They've heard enough scare stories. They'd like the truth, and that's exactly what we give them in Fracknation.
Yeah, and it's I like that you mentioned the Kickstarter. That's actually the next thing I was going to ask about. It really is. It's a great way for people that believe in your project to get behind it, and the fact that you were so successful, you almost doubled your goal. It really does show that there are a lot of people that believe in this, and they want to see the truth.
Well, it's interesting, I think this is an amazing country. Obviously, I don't need to tell you that. We've moved here from Ireland because of the fact that this is the greatest country in the world. That's why we've chosen to live here. It's just because it's a great country. And you have great people in this country. There are people in this country, America, who really know, who get it, who just understand things. They understand things about energy. They understand things about natural resources. They understand, and those are the people who sent us money. People sent us $10 and said, I wish I could give you more, but I really love what you're doing. I really appreciate it. And these are people who get in their car to drive to see their mother at the weekend, and they realize the benefit of petrol. They realize the benefit of gas in the car. They realize what coal does for us. They know that, and there's lots of them. America's full of people who actually get it, who understand that stuff. It's full of people who don't get it either, as well. But I think there's more people who understand the benefit of oil and gas and coal. There's more of them than the others, that it keeps everything going. And I think that's why they responded so fabulously and generously. And it was amazing for us. You can imagine these two journalists from Ireland, we truck up to America, and ask the public to, send us in money, and they do, and people did. And I just think what a remarkable, wonderful gift this country is. And that's why so many people want to live here.
Yeah, and it's just regular people that donated. I mean, I saw that you actually returned donations from oil and gas companies because you wanted to be honest about this. So if somebody would accuse you of just taking money from big oil, quote unquote, this isn't from. This is funding from just everyday people.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's quite funny. I mean, a couple of executives from mining companies sent in money, and we scrupulously went through the list of people who gave us money, and when we saw them, we just sent it back to them. We said, if you're connected to the oil and gas, directly connected to oil and gas as an executive, we're going to send your money back. And these were kind of regular guys sending in like a couple of $100 or whatever, but anyway, we sent it back. The film was funded by these, by regular folks from around the country, and it's it's great. And the other thing that we did that people think is it's fun, and I think I'm nearly sure we broke some kind of Guinness Book of Records. Anyone who gave us $1, and if you gave us $1, you got your name on the credits of the film. So we had 3,000 names on the credits of our film, and it's so funny. At the end of the film, when the film ends, the credits roll for 7 minutes, and that's with the writing being really small. But people love it when we go to show, and of course I'm going to be there on Wednesday, showing the film in GIllette. And really looking forward to that. But at the end, what I do is I usually cut the sound, but I let the credits roll, because I really want people to just look, because people quite often I'll be in audiences, and there'll always be one or two whose names are on the credits. So it's just great. So hopefully some of the executive producers of Fracknation will be in GIllette. Oh
yeah, and I'm sure there are a few executive producers in the town here. And we'll actually get back to that in a second. How has the reaction to the film been? Oh, it's been fantastic. I mean, we've had a marvelous reaction. People have really loved the film. I mean, and it's kind of funny. I mean, documentaries can be a bit dry and a bit like, oh my God, you've made a documentary about oil and gas, like really, But actually, it's very amusing. It's very funny. There's some very funny incidents that I suppose weren't meant to be funny, if that makes sense, where anti-fracking activists get really exposed for the kind of the nonsense that they're up to. So we have a very nice scene with that, and people have just really liked the film, and they like the fact that they're it arms them. I think it arms them for when they kind of go to family reunions or weddings, and they end up with people who are anti-fracking, because they've got plenty of ammunition. Once they watch our film, they certainly know their facts. They know, for example, that seismic activity. If you are worried about seismic activity, if you're worried about earthquakes, geothermal energy should be your number one target. But environmentalists like geothermal energy, so they never mentioned that it causes earthquakes. It doesn't contaminate water, as I said. Lisa Jackson has said that. It doesn't make your water flammable, and it doesn't make you sick. Gasland, the film Gasland, made a claim. The guy, Josh Fox, he made a claim that in the Barnett Shale area, which is a shale area around Fort Worth, Texas, he said that in that area, breast cancer rates had soared. I mean, he makes this claim, which is true. Clearly, we wouldn't be fracking, But it's an incredible thing to say, because people obviously, are very sensitive to the whole idea of cancer. He just made it up. The Texas Cancer Registry said there is no record of any kind of spike in breast cancer in the Barnett Shale. Susan B. Komen for the Cure said the same. So we've exposed, all of that is also in our documentary, because I think it's important the public realize where they're getting their messaging from. So if you're happy to get information about fracking from someone who would lie about breast cancer, who would lie about flammable water, who would lie, about contamination of people's drinking water, then, if you're content with getting your information of a person like that, well, you're not going to be well informed. Oh, absolutely. And to your credit, you've actually been in some of the reviews, the meticulous research that you did in the movie is recognized. I mean, even from the New York Times and some other places that you might not
absolutely,
you might not normally expect the New York Times to endorse something like this, but I mean, you did such a good job at getting to the truth and keeping an agenda out of it that it shows in the film.
Yeah, no, and people have been very grateful. As you said, people have really enjoyed it. And we're traveling around the country. We've had a big tour of Ohio. We've had a big tour of Pennsylvania. We've been in New York. We've been in Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico. So, next stop, Wyoming. We've had screenings all over the country, and and they're growing. And people, individuals are coming along and saying, "I want to have a screening," and they're having screenings and bringing hundreds of people. So it's great. Tonight, for example, we're going to be in Santa Barbara. It's great. I mean, it's fantastic because people really want to know the truth. And this story about fracking is something that affects so many communities across America. It's extraordinary, and what's almost miraculous. I'm not actually very religious, but I do think that sometimes when you really have to ask yourself, how amazing is the world? The places where the fracking has been, most effective, most successful, bizarrely, are parts of America that are very poor. I've had a lot of hardship, I've had a lot of difficulty. For example, here in California, there is an opportunity for shale exploitation in the Monterey Shale area, which is, near the Central Valley, an area of California, a disaster area, basically, with very, very high unemployment. And that there's, and it's like sort of God has sort of said, well, we're going to help out these people, But the hope is that they will help themselves by taking advantage of this, and that the elites from San Francisco, the elite environmentalists who don't know where electricity comes from, I hope that they won't take away this amazing opportunity for the people of California who desperately need it.
Yeah, so you're going to be screening the movie on Wednesday here in GIllette at the Energy Expo. So why don't you tell everybody how they can come and see the film?
Yes, I don't have the numbers in front of me here. You probably have the ad there. But yeah, we're going to be there in GIllette on Wednesday. We would really like everyone to come along. There's an Energy Expo, and if they go online, I think people can find out. And I think the screening is in the morning, actually. The screening, I think, is on Thursday morning, actually, if I'm not mistaken. And people, anyone who wants to come along. We'd really love to see you. It's free to come into the screening. Really, really like that. Yes, it's on. I think it's Thursday morning. The screening is. So please come along. We'd really, really like to see you. Oh,
and I guarantee you're gonna. I mean, the Energy Expo is a big thing around here. I guarantee you're gonna get a good turnout for it.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And I'm really looking forward to coming to Wyoming. I have actually been to Wyoming once before, and I do know the struggle there and the difficulty and the fact that people in Wyoming understand things. I mean, people in Wyoming understand that the coal, saves you and pays the bills, and that's where an awful lot of the economy is propped up by the coal. And despite what people in Washington or elites in San Francisco might think, the people of Wyoming, are very appreciative of their resources, and I'm really happy to come and talk about fracking. So I hope I see lots of people there.
And I guarantee you will. Once again, Ann McElhinney. The movie is Fracknation. Make sure you go out and see it this week at the Energy Expo. I want to thank you, Ann, for taking the time and talking with us today. And we'll see you this week at the Expo.
Absolutely. Look forward to it. Thanks a million.
Thank you, and we'll talk to you again soon.